think that often we don't talk enough about the violence towards Indigenous sex workers, and I see it every day, the stigma and the shame.
Tonight, a rally to help protect women who end up in vulnerable situations.
It's very outdated, very antiquated, and something that needs to be revised.
Delilah Saunders calls for policy change around receiving organs and donating them.
It was a pretty great opportunity. As soon as I heard that it was here, I had to come out right away.
And the hockey tryout of a lifetime for some Ontario youth. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. The chief of Shoal Lake 40 First Nation met with the province of Manitoba and the city of Winnipeg today to discuss the completion of Freedom Road. The residents of the artificial island, which straddles the Manitoba-Ontario border, just finished building the on-reserve portion of the road, which will see them connected to a major highway. But as Brittany Hobson shows us, it's up to the province to finish the rest.
Shoal Lake 40 First Nation Chief Erwin Redsky was in Winnipeg this week for an annual meeting between the community, the province, and the city of Winnipeg. Earlier this month, Redsky announced the completion of the on-reserve portion of the much-awaited Freedom Road. The off-reserve portion is handled by the province, and after today's meeting, the community is finally seeing an end in sight.
What we heard today is the off-reserve and the Crown and the second phase of Freedom Road is moving forward. Proud to say that the minister announced that they'll go out to open tender no later than January 5th of 2018.
The off-reserve portion makes up 2/3 of the 24-kilometer road. Redsky expects it to be finished by 2019.
It'll be 12 months thereafter for hopefully to be fully complete, and we'll reconnect our community to the Trans-Canada Highway.
Shoal Lake was forced onto a man-made island more than a century ago due to the decision to build a canal around the community to protect Winnipeg's water supply. Last December, the federal government committed $20 million to the project, and the province and city agreed to pay $10 million each. Members of the local advocacy group Friends of Shoal Lake 40 took to the steps of the legislative building ahead of the meeting. The group says completion of Freedom Road is only the first step toward honoring the agreement.
We want to remind Winnipeggers that that this story between Shoal Lake 40 and the city of Winnipeg is not one that's done, and it's not one that's going to be finished and finalized with the completion of a road.
The community has been on a boil water advisory for 2 decades. Once Freedom Road is complete, construction of a water treatment plant will begin.
Once we've connected to the Trans-Canada, it'll be more feasible, because it was almost impossible to build a water treatment plant up to this point, and with no access and almost tripling the cost of hauling material in.
Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
And we would like to hear what you have to say about this or any other story. Here's how to contact us. Send an email to news@aptn.ca, like our APTN National News Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter @APTN News, or go to our website, aptnnews.ca. A missing and murdered Indigenous women advocate is now advocating organ donation. Delilah Saunders' sister, Loretta Saunders, was murdered 3 years ago. Now Delilah is in a Toronto hospital with acute liver failure. She was denied a liver transplant because of the policy of 6-month abstinence from alcohol consumption. Today, Delilah invited the media to her bedside because she wants that policy to change.
I didn't plan on becoming an advocate for this sort of cause, but the more I've been learning about it, even since coming to, I suppose, I was unconscious for a while. Seeing how many families have reached out and expressed that they have had to just accept the policy despite many other factors. It's very outdated, very antiquated, and something that needs to be revised and looked at.
Quebec Provincial Police and the Kativik Regional Police Force are asking Nunavummiut for information. The Quebec Provincial Police Internet Child Sexual Exploitation Team arrested Predrag Remick on December 6th in Sherbrooke, Quebec. Remick is facing charges of possessing, distributing, and accessing child pornography. He recently worked with the Sault-Louis, Quebec, with youth in Sault-Louis, Quebec. Investigators are looking for potential victims throughout the province and possibly Nunavut.
Since he was working with teenagers in the north of Quebec, this is the reason why on the day that we arrest him, we published his pictures and sent the press release to inform the community down there that he may have done some other victims.
Any information on this case can be shared with Quebec Provincial Police by calling 1-800-659-4264. Sex workers across the world rallied to denounce violence against women over the weekend. In Montreal, the focus was on Indigenous women involved in the sex trade and how to make it safer for them. Tom Fenario has the story.
Most people at this rally don't speak Inuktitut, but this somber melody conveys what many here are feeling.
Today I was thinking about the Indigenous sex workers that I work with on a daily basis and how they experience a lot of violence.
Jessica Quijano organized this rally as a part of the International Day to End Violence Against Sex Workers. As an outreach worker at the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal, she wants to shine a light on the peril many sex workers face.
I think that often we don't talk enough about the violence towards Indigenous sex workers, and I see it every day, the stigma and the shame.
On this day, one name on Quijano's mind is Siatsi Tolagak. Tolagak, a 27-year-old Inuk sex worker, died this past August. Police ruled her death a suicide, but many in the Inuit community suspect foul play. Sandra Wesley is the director of Stella, a Montreal-based sex worker advocacy group. She says by forcing women like Tolagak to work in the margins, society makes their lives more dangerous.
This year in Montreal, we've had at least 4 Montreal-based sex workers who were murdered, and countless women who died from other causes, such as lack of access to health care because of the discrimination that we face, suicide because of the accumulation of trauma that we can go through.
Despite the fact that less than 1% of the population of Montreal is Indigenous, Wesley says they make up about a quarter of women in the sex trade.
So while all sex workers face the impacts of criminalization and of stigma against sex work, Indigenous women face double discrimination through colonization and racism, and that makes them even more vulnerable.
Wesley and Quijano both advocate for the decriminalization of prostitution, and they're not alone. In 2013, the Supreme Court of Canada overruled federal prostitution laws, saying they put sex workers in danger. The Harper government responded in 2014 with Bill C-36, or the Protection of Communities and Exploited Persons Act. The bill legalized selling sex, and instead it cracks down on pimps and those who purchase sexual favors. Critics say the bill only serves to push sex workers into more dangerous areas by taking away their ability to work in groups and indoors.
Society continues to think that if we just send the police to stop us, that it will help us. The reality is that people exploit us because they can, so we need to end that. And that's not through police repression, it's through giving us rights.
In 2015, Canada's Justice Minister, Jody Wilson-Raybould, committed to reviewing Bill C-36. In an email to APTN News, the Department of Justice says that this is still the case, and that the minister has engaged with a range of stakeholders, including those currently and formerly involved in the sex trade, civil society organizations, and Indigenous stakeholders, to solicit views on the criminal law reform's impact. Quijano says that the process is taking too long.
Voices of women in the sex trade need to be heard. Sex workers' rights groups need to be respected, and we're still waiting. Josie Wilson-Raybould is supposed to be sitting down with sex workers' rights groups to change the laws of C-36, so we're still waiting for that.
Tom Fenario, APTN National News, Montreal.
To Calgary now, where police there are looking for a 29-year-old woman and 3 teens in connection with a horrific case of human trafficking. Jessica Naomi Louise Vinjay is wanted on warrants for human trafficking, sexual assault, and unlawful confinement. Police allege a woman was abducted and held in an apartment for 5 days. The alleged victim says she was forced to have sex with 10 different men before she escaped. Warrants have also been issued for 3 underage suspects. A group of young people in Ontario are getting the hockey tryout of a lifetime. And a Métis NHL players providing fans with an experience they wouldn't otherwise get. Those stories and more coming up after the break. Here's a look at Wednesday's weather forecast starting on the East Coast. Rain and +4 in St. John's, 0 in Charlottetown. Snow and a high of -2 for Happy Valley Goose Bay, +1 in Cartwright, -6 in Sept-Îles, -8 in Saguenay, -11 for Chibougamau, 0 in London on Wednesday, -1 in Sarnia and Toronto, -10 in Sudbury and Wawa, -14 under the sun in Sioux Lookout. A chilly day in northern Manitoba, -27 in Churchill, -17 in Barons River, sunny, and -14 in Dauphin and Winnipeg. Over to Saskatchewan, -12 in Estevan, Regina, and Swift Current. Sunny and -20 in Stony Rapids and Uranium City. Welcome back. For troubled youth, joining a gang can seem like the only option. But once you're in, finding a way out can be tough. That's where a new program comes in. As Creason Achkate reports, the initiative is helping former gang members find a new purpose.
Growing up in Regina, 29-year-old Cody Francis says it was dangerous just to walk home from school.
You weren't able to walk around this neighborhood without having a group with you. You weren't allowed to walk around by yourself.
At the age of 12, he joined a gang to protect himself from others.
I obviously didn't know what I was getting into at the time. I was just following my friends, but I think there's more of an influence from older brothers and cousins and stuff.
At 18, his son was born, and the responsibility of becoming a father helped him make the decision to leave the gang in 2011. But it wasn't easy.
Being Aboriginal, I'm finding it's hard to not only get employment, but to maintain it, and not only that, it's hard to advance. I found myself more than often coming back to situations where it's like, oh, well, I need to pay my bills.
Now, Francis is finding support as a participant of the Regina Gang Exit Network, or REGEN.
There's people that are wanting out. We were hearing that more and more.
Spurgeon Root is the director of the program and has been involved with Gang Exit for more than 10 years. He works closely with 3 former gang members who now act as mentors for the participants of the program.
What do we need to do to help you be successful? What are the issues that you're facing in life, and how can we help with that?
Friday nights we have father groups here. Right now we have, a couple of the young fellas hanging out with me and my kids.
We can change a couple on looks of kids to not go down that path. That's a good feeling, right? That's the purpose of what we're doing.
The idea for REGEN came from the Homeboy Industries in Los Angeles. It is the largest gang exit program in the world, which focuses on helping former gang members find employment. While this is only the beginning, Root says he hopes to one day secure funding and grants to pay his volunteer mentors.
The people are great. The conversation is great. There's no boundaries to what we could talk about. There's no judgment. I feel accepted. I think it's great, man, and I think it could be great for a lot of people.
Root says he wants to see the program continue to grow so that more people will have the support where they need it most. Creason Achkate, CTV News, Regina.
The chilling, wintry weather has arrived, and while some of us would rather curl up with a warm blanket, others are taking to the cold. This weekend, a group of youth from across Ontario got a hockey tryout of a lifetime. Here's Annette Francis once more.
These young athletes are geared up for Team Ontario tryouts, but before the game gets started, they take the time to get pictures with this unique backdrop. Playing hockey on the lawn of Parliament is one of the reasons Cameron Gillespie made the trip from Moose Factory, Ontario.
It was a pretty great opportunity. As soon as I heard that it was here, I had to come out right away.
It's the 3rd tryout for Team Ontario this season, but according to the president of the Aboriginal Sport and Wellness Council of Ontario, an outdoor game on the Canada 150 rink is likely one of the most memorable.
Well, when the Ottawa Senators reached out to us, we thought it was an opportunity we couldn't decline. It's tremendous for our kids to be able to skate in this kind of a venue. It's very exciting. I think everyone's a little starstruck, including myself, and this is something I've never expected to see for our teams.
Skabewa's Tababandung comes from North Bay. He says skating outdoors is a different feeling than inside an arena.
If anything, it makes it more energetic. Like, you're on the ice, you're outside, the adrenaline's running through you. It's natural. It's just, inside, and it's just amazing.
Nikaylee Henhock is happy to share in the excitement.
It's crazy. I never thought I would be playing here right now. And especially the Senators just skated here the other day. It's unbelievable.
In spite of the unique location for this tryout, there's still work to do. Some of Ontario's best Aboriginal athletes from ages 14 to 18 will be selected to represent Team Ontario at the National Aboriginal Hockey Championships tournament next spring in Membertou.
Looking good. There's a lot of good skaters here, braving the cold, and so our coaches out there, we have them. We're looking at their edge work and their agility and their decision making, and they're doing well.
Any athletes not able to make it to the tryout here in Ottawa are invited to attend Team Ontario's next sessions in Sudbury and Thunder Bay next month. And at Francis, APTN National News, Ottawa.
A defenseman with the Calgary Flames, who is Métis, wanted to bring families from the north to experience an NHL game. APTN's Tamara Pimentel met with the first family from Nunavut who came to Calgary to catch the excitement.
Let's get that one here, guys.
It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Emmanuel Utak and his two sons, McLeod and Pakak Arnatsiak. They traveled to Calgary from Nawiak, Nunavut to spend a weekend touring Calgary's Saddledome and hanging out with NHL stars.
This is my very first time to be in Calgary with my two boys, and I'm so excited I don't know what to say.
Utak and his sons are the first guests of the Northern Project, an initiative launched by the Calgary Flames Métis defenseman Travis Hamnick. The project gives families from the north an opportunity to spend a weekend in Calgary on an all-expenses-paid trip courtesy of Hamnick and his wife. Hamnick says his heritage and the work of the late Gord Downie is his motivation.
My heritage is something that I hold really close to me, and being Métis myself. You want to be able to help, and so it was. Over the last couple of years, you follow the work that Gord Downie has done in our country, and the voice that he has given, and the conversation that he's created. You want to follow his lead.
Utak and his sons received hotel accommodations, a tour of the dressing room, free Flames gear, and lower bowl tickets to a game.
It's fun to be in Calgary with my dad.
It's been awesome. I haven't been able to wipe the smile on my face off all weekend. They're ecstatic. They're having a blast here today. They met all the guys. It's really been a team effort here, as far as the players, as far as the staff members. Everyone at the Flames organization has done a pretty amazing job at making them feel like one of our own.
Hamnick says while it's a great experience for the family, he learned a lot about life in the North through stories and photos his new guests shared.
To hear their experiences of what it's like for them to grow up, and then what it was like for me and for us to live here, it's way different.
The selection process of the Northern Project is done through Hockey North. Families from each territory have the chance to go to Calgary. Hamnick and his wife will choose the next family in the second half of the NHL season. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Calgary.
Great way to give back. Time for another quick break, and then we'll spread some holiday cheer around. Stick around. Here's the rest of Wednesday's weather forecast, picking back up in sunny northern Alberta. -10 in Peace River and Grand Prairie. -10 as well in Edmonton, Red Deer, and Lethbridge. A beautiful day on the west coast, +5 for Victoria and Vancouver on Wednesday. Sunny and -10 in Prince George, -13 under the sun in Fort Nelson. In Yukon, -20 in Beaver Creek, -4 for Old Crow. Over to NWT, -17 in Fort Simpson, Yellowknife, Wrigley, and Ray Lakes. -25 in Sax Harbor, -4 for Fort McPherson. Another very cold day on the way for Nunavut. Minus 32 in Whale Cove, Chesterfield, and Baker Lake. Minus 25 in Clyde River and Cape Dorset. Minus 31 in Joe Haven. Welcome back. It's that time of year again when all the hustle and bustle is happening in preparation for Christmas Day. Before things begin at the Odawa Native Friendship Center, they make a special presentation. With more on the story, here's Annette Francis.
This workshop is loaded with food and presents, ready to be wrapped and bagged. It's all part of the Odawa Native Friendship Center's Food for Friends campaign. And just as the work begins, a longtime elf is honored.
Dolores, Shemigwech, for all your help and support. There you are.
Thank you. Well, let's see what
Dolores Palche-Corky has been with Food for Friends ever since she moved to Ottawa in 1997.
I came in as a to help wrap gifts. The following year, I started helping with the food and just sorting, packing, delivering, and wrapping up the toys for the children.
Palche-Corky now heads up the program. She says there's a lot of planning throughout the year.
We start probably in this summertime. We do have a fundraiser garage sale. We have an annual arts and crafts sale in November, and so just throughout the year, but it's mainly through the latter part of the fall when we start the hustle and bustle.
In 20 years, the need for Food for Friends has doubled from 150 families to 350. Morgan HARE runs the Friendship Center. He says without his staff and volunteers, and especially without Palche-Corky, the Food for Friends program just would not fly.
Dolores has been staying put, helping out in this program, puts it on her calendar. She works full time, puts it on her calendar, and helps out throughout the week here at Odawa. And without her, I think we'd be it would be hard to fill her shoes with someone else. But in the meantime, we're just so appreciative of her efforts.
Palche-Corky says it's nice to be appreciated, but it isn't about recognition.
I'd like to, see that people are, helping one another out. And I think we need to kind of influence our youth as well, too, to follow in the same steps as well, too.
Over the next 3 days, she and the other owls will keep sorting and packing the hampers before taking a short break and planning for next year. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Turning now to a tiny village filled with a lot of Christmas cheer. This miniature town was built by a family in Kansas. Every year, Randy Gregg places the stores, restaurants, cars, and people in their respective spots. You can even see Santa at a reindeer crossing. Gregg builds the village all by himself. His wife decorates the rest of the house. Got some time on their hands. That's your APTN National News for this Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. For more, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.